Good morning. Welcome back to Berg Mountain Optional University in our course Precedents by Presidents, Plow, Plant and March 4th. This session we cover Thomas Jefferson. We wish you would come along with us.
Third President of Liberty. From Shadwell Plantation, Albemarle County, VA. President Thomas Jefferson. April 13, 1743, 1801 to 1809, July 4, 1826. Thomas Jefferson was 33 years old when America declared its independence from Great Britain, where a transformation of the nation was so by his precedents set. He was the second vice president from 1797 to 1801 and third president of the United States from March 4, 1801, to 1809, defeating Adams in a political rematch. At that time the candidate with the second highest presidential votes became the vice president and president of the Senate, as had Adams Washington, so did Jefferson vice Adams office. The will of the people is in the Senate, but its governance resides in the presidency, who executes legislation. Etymologically, every time I think of Jefferson I can't get past the Spanish Jefe, meaning boss in Latin translated to Bulla, or him being an architect setting crafts to work. Why? Well, because of Carpenters Hall in Philadelphia, where the First Continental Congress from September 5, 1774, was held, whereas the Lord was as well a carpenter too, but the architect who sets men to labor also provides for their repose, and Peter's son Jefe or Jefferson did both. Working in the Georgian style, Robert Smith, who designed and built Carpenters Hall, died in the Revolutionary War while working on the Continental barracks at Fort Billingsport. Jefferson as an architect continued his work not only physically, but literally, and politically as well. Creating atmospheres, Jefferson did so classically through architecture, economically by calling those at labor to repose, and politically as chief author of the Declaration of Independence. Thomas Jefferson set precedents in America followed today in literature, politics, and architecture, which, with disciplines mastered, he forged a path in colonial, revolutionary and the early stages of nationalism.
Precedents by Thomas Jefferson in America were set by his literature, which carrying the American zeitgeist, we long to hear logic in them read aloud again. Studying from 9 years old in a Scottish Presbyterian school Greek, Latin, and French, from 1758 to 1760 he was taught by the Reverend James Morey science, history, and the classics until age 16. In 1761 philosophy, mathematics, and metaphysics at the College of William and Mary further prepared Jefferson to literally structure the new nation. He wrote Summary of the Rights of British America before the First Continental Congress in 1774, which claimed colonies had been independent from conception. The 5-member board of Jefferson, Livingston, Franklin, Adams, and Sherman were charged by the Second Continental Congress to draft the unanimous Declaration of the 13 United States of America, where Jefferson was its primary author. Peyton Randolph, Jefferson's cousin once removed, was president of the First and Second Continental Congresses, where falling ill in both, Henry Middleton and John Hancock replaced Randolph in the first and second, respectively, so we have Kate Middleton and call signatures John Hancock's today. Jefferson wrote Notes on the State of Virginia 1781, published in 1785, concerning individual liberty, separation of state from church, checks and balances, and constitutional government. Observation on the whale fishery in 1788 was written to those in the least economically beneficial trade, who became to Great Britain aliens, but of some land and not products of the sea men are. Learning scrimshaw from Scrimshander's Wampanoag natives in Nantucket, who would come to make up half or more of whaling seamen. The Annas 1791 to 1806 by Jefferson is under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11, where meeting in peace concerning the nation, they would part similarly in the common interest of our United States in America, rain, snow, sleet, or war. He wrote Jefferson's Manual, formerly named Manual of Parliamentary Practice for the use of the Senate of the United States, in 1801. Then, having been its president as the second vice president of our new nation, the will of the people was in the Senate's will, and thus, those they represent. The Autobiography of Thomas Jefferson, 1743 to 1790. He began at 77 years old in 1821.
Jefferson made precedents in his career politically as minister to France from 1785 to 89, from 1790 to 1793 as Secretary of State and winning second in the election of 1796 against Adams, Vice President from 1797 to 1801. Jefferson was President of the Senate. Still seeking the presidency in 1801, the political rematch between Adams and Jefferson would prove the latter triumphant and the birth of Jeffersonian republicanism. In 1804 Federalist rose under Charles C. Pinckney, but the incumbent, Jefferson, proved victorious again in a landslide victory on both popular and electoral percentages. Declining a third term, Jefferson, with Marbury v. Madison decided, Louisiana purchased and explored by the Corps of Discovery, Lewis and Clark, complete, looked for James Madison to lead as expansion meant architecture.
Jefferson was a self-taught architect who couldn't have been a stranger to specifications in his neoclassical Palladianism-inspired buildings. Why self-taught? Well, because there were no schools of architecture in the colonies which kept them subject to the king. The 4 books of architecture by Andrea Palladio gave Jefferson basic principles in classical design. With slaves secure under Sally Hemings' offspring, he had a dependable workforce from which he would build. The Coolidge collection has over 600 documents for plans and specifications of his architectural endeavors. The successful Greek Revolution of 1821 from Ottoman rule was magnified in his neoclassical Greek revival. Symmetrical, Tuscan-ordered, white-trimmed, Chinese-railed, octagonally formed, piano-knobled, red-bricked and sand-painted columns were typical of his style. Monticello, Farmington Club, Acade Michael Village UV, Poplar Forest, Barbersville, The Rotunda, Nelson County Courthouse, Botetourt County Courthouse, Buckingham County Courthouse and the University of Virginia are but a few notables of his.
Jefferson set precedents in America in his literature, politics, and architecture which mastered. He forged the way in colonial, revolutionary and early stages nationalism. With an educational foundation in Greek, Latin, French, philosophy, mathematics and metaphysics, composition was so literally and most notably in the Declaration of Independence. Politically, as Peyton Randolph's cousin once removed, Jefferson was the second vice president and third president. Architecturally, he mastered neoclassicism in Monticello and other works.
That's all we have for you this time. Not that more couldn't have been said, but time often restricts capabilities. Next session we cover James Madison as the fourth president to see what precedents he set. We hope to see you there. Thank you for your time and consideration.